Switchboard Soldiers by Jennifer Kiavarini, a particular knack for writing historical novels like Resistance Women and the Women's March, where she pulls episodes from history that speak directly to women's experiences right now. And she's done that with Switchboard Soldiers, which was started in 1917 when General John Pershing arrives in France to establish American forces in Europe, and he finds himself unable to communicate with troops that are out on the field. And at the time, nearly all well-trained American telephone operators were women, but they weren't even allowed to enlist much and couldn't vote. But nevertheless, the Army promptly started recruiting them, and more than 7,600 women responded. They were the first women sworn into the U.S. Army under the Articles of War, and the risk of death was real. They worked as bombs fell around them, as was the threat of a new deadly virus, the Spanish flu. Not all of these women survived. This is their story, never told before.
Hey everyone, welcome to Paris. Not really, but at this point, I think it's fair to say we'll take what we can get. And All Signs Point to Paris by Natasha Sislo is one heck of an escapist read, and it's not even fiction, although the premise is so fun and spontaneous. I kind of thought it was when I first heard of it. It begins, as all good stories do, at rock bottom. She is broke, she is heartbroken, she is reeling from the loss of her father after he died, and it's just the bottom, the very bottom. And in the pit of despair, she does what I think we all do. We turn to fate, and we turn to things that are outside of our control and try to find a reason for it. And she doesn't even believe in astrology, but she goes to see a highly sought after astrologist, and the reading turned out to be incredible and eerily accurate. And she has to ask about her emotionally unavailable, but unfortunately good looking ex. And she does. And that's when she's told that he was the one, because his birth date and his birth time, November 2nd in Paris, France, Scorpio, of course, that lines up with her point of destiny. And at this point, she's ready to faint until it hits her that he can't be the only person born at that time in that place. She just has to find the one. I love this premise personally. I think it's the greatest setup for the greatest adventure, written in the stars or not. So consider it fate that you're hearing about it now. Votes are due July 1st.
Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay. Paul is back, and he's got a twist on a very popular topic. His previous novels have devolved into ghosts, home invasions, apocalypses, pandemics, and now he's taking on the supernatural. He blends literary fiction with psychological suspense so well, and his profile has just really been growing. Survivor Song was one of NPR's best books of the year, and an Indie Next pick, a Library Reads pick. And in this book, it's a story about Art, who is the 17-year-old loner in high school in the 80s. And he starts an extracurricular club for volunteers to be pallbearers at poorly attended funerals. Sounds sweet and a little odd, but he starts this as an extracurricular, and he has a new friend through this club, a new friend that comes to the club, and she's very cool. And so they kind of have a falling out, and decades later, he tries to make sense of all of this and his past by writing his memoir, The Pallbearers Club. But somehow his friend got her hand on the manuscript, and she has some issues with it. So in the book itself, it's got writings from her in the margins, which is really cool. And it really blurs the lines of fiction and memory and the supernatural and the mundane. So very excited to have this new book from Paul, and it's on sale July 5th.